I'm a big fan of flags. I collect them. I subscribe to the Vexiology subreddit. If fun with flags was a real thing, I'd watch it. So I have a special place in my heart for them. Flags, of course, are the symbols of nations, displays to the world about what they are. Colors aren't just willy-nilly, there's always a history or influence to why that design is there. When you look at enough of the world's flags, you begin to wonder, why do some of these look so similar? This video will explore that, the patterns that exist and what factors led to the flags we recognize today. First, let's start off in Europe, where many flags were simply inspired by their neighbors. The Scandinavian countries all share the creatively named Nordic Cross. Why is this? Denmark. Denmark's flag dates back to the Crusades and has been flown ever since. This flag design was adapted by other Scandinavian nations and is seen as a symbol of their heritage. Why do so many European nations have the tricolor design? Because of France. The French tricolor was birthed from the French Revolution, with its ideals of freedom and common unity before the whole guillotine thing. But out of it, the tricolor became a symbol other countries appealed to. As Europeans colonized much of the world, the influence of the tricolor grew as well, even remaining in designs of nations who would become independent. The tricolor flag design became a staple of the West, so much so when Russia aimed to westernize, Peter the Great modeled the new flag of Russia off of the Dutch. Peter aimed to make Russia into a westernized European state, and wanted a flag to show the change. We see recurring flags in multiple nations with similar roots, most predominantly Great Britain, whose legacy still reigns today. 23 countries bear the Union Jack. This became an issue for New Zealand, who always gets confused with Australia. In fact, this isn't even New Zealand's flag, it's Australia's. This is why New Zealand wants to change theirs. As we know, America shares much of its culture with its home country, Great Britain. The American flag is red, white, and blue because the Union Jack is. Of course, this wasn't an intentional reason, but considering how red, white, and blue were already a familiar color scheme, it isn't surprising it made its way onto the new nation's flag. The very first American flag, even before the famous Betsy Ross flag, was the Continental colors, which bore a Union Jack instead of the stars. Talking more about the United States, which is home to many state flags, 50 in fact, it's not surprising some base their own flags off of the stars and stripes, like Texas and Ohio. However, the US is split culturally as well, most notably in the South, where some flags still pay homage to their Confederate past. Move even further south into Latin America. Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua all share a suspiciously similar design, as well as Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela with each other. Why is this? All these countries once were united under a single nation, which then inspired the designs of successor states. What was once the Federal Republic of Central America split into 4 nations, and Gran Colombia, which existed in the 1820s, dissolved into 3. The Federal Republic of Central America's flag was inspired by the Argentinian flag, who shared an independence movement with their neighbor, Uruguay. During this revolt came the Son of May symbol, which is shared by both countries. Skipping across the pond into Africa, why do so many African flags have the color scheme of gold, red, and green, or black, red, and green? Because these are the colors of the Pan-African movement. When the nations gained independence during the 20th century, the identity of a united Africa was celebrated, and that went into many flag designs. But where did the colors come from? Ethiopia. Ethiopia was admired by fellow African countries as it never fell to colonial rule, except for during World War II. Their flag colors were then adapted by newly founded nations. As the color spread, it became identified with Rastafarianism as well as the Black Panther movement. In fact, many nations share common colors and designs for their heritage. Pan-Slavic colors are shown throughout Eastern Europe, as well as Pan-Aryan colors in Central Asia. Most notable are the Pan-Arab colors, seen in Iraq, Egypt, Syria, Yemen, and many other countries. Also prevalent on Middle flags is the crescent, a symbol for Islam. It is mostly used by Turkic countries or areas formerly controlled by the Ottomans. The Ottomans used the crescent for centuries on their banners, and we can see their influence still on the flags of their former lands today. Flags are representations of who we are and our identity as a nation or as multiple nations. If you notice the patterns and study the history, it can become pretty easy to recognize where in the world a flag is from. Flags can be so similar because people can be so similar, with a common history or struggle. Some event in the past could unite them. Like on Facebook and subscribe if you have not done so. This is Cody from Geography Hub.